This is what we feared. The paleface is a demon. The only thing they feel at all is greed.
Huh. So this movie predicted Michael Bay then? Yeah. That movie nut here with a review for Pocahontas, the 1995 animated film starring Irene Bedard, Mel Gibson, and David Ogden Steirs. The story is a fictionalization of the much-known tale of Pocahontas, a Native American woman and daughter of a powerful chief. Here, she's an idealistic and adventurous young misfit, much to the chagrin of her father, the chief. However, one day, an expedition from England headed up by Governor Ratcliffe arrives in the New World, the men led by Captain John Smith, a stout fellow with a taste for adventure. Inevitably, these two come together and learn to understand one another's strange world and endeavour to avert a full-on conflict between the two sides. The cast here all do a good job. Irene Bedard as Pocahontas is fine, giving the role a youthful pep and energy befitting such a free-spirited character, and her singing voice, provided by Judy Kuhn, matches up nicely and shares those qualities. Mel Gibson as John Smith is similarly dependable, though the likeable action hero isn't exactly a stretch for him, but his singing voice isn't actually half bad. David Ogden Steirs as both Ratcliffe and his prissy manservant is suitably pompous and grandiose, as well as Weasley, in turn, having a ball with the twin roles, while Linda Hunt as the forest spirit grandmother Willow gives the needed authority yet tenderness through her aged and wise voice. In supporting roles we have the likes of Jim Cummings, Billy Connolly, Frank Welker, and even a young Christian Bale, and they all do just as well, though their material is a lot more limited. From a visual standpoint, the film is nothing short of stunning, but this is par for the course when it comes to the Disney Renaissance. In this instance, the production team went for a style more focused on colour, and they are incredibly bold and vibrant, going from the cool blues and purples of rivers and forests to the bright and fiery reds of sunrise and even the lush greens of fields. It is an absolute feast for the eyes, and if for nothing else, no one can deny the film is a technical marvel and a very unique-looking film. And the score by veterans Alan Menken and Stephen Schwartz is just as impressive. I personally preferred Schwartz's work over Howard Ashman's, which I know will sound like heresy to many, but frankly the work here speaks for itself, whether it be the upbeat and adventurous Just Around the River Bend, the incredibly passionate Colors of the Wind, or even the intense, adrenaline-pumping showstopper Savages, as the two sides ready for intense battle. Even some of the lesser-known numbers, like the wonderful Dig for Virginia, are a ton of fun to listen to, and do help to add some much-needed vitality and spark to the film. And speaking of that, now comes the script, and to be blunt, this is where the film really falls down. The culture clash story, even back in the mid-90s, was already a fairly overdone subject, with examples being as recent as 1990's Dances with Wolves. Now, of course, unoriginality isn't the mark of death, as long as the concept can be executed well, and neither does historical inaccuracy, which frankly was to be expected with a name like Disney's Pocahontas. However, what wrecks this story is its length. Pocahontas clocks in at less than an hour and 20 minutes. By comparison, let's take a look at other culture clash films. The Man Called Horse is 114 minutes. Dances with Wolves, 180. Another Pocahontas film, The New World, from Terrence Malick, 135 minutes. James Cameron's Avatar, 162 minutes. See the problem? The film is so compressed, so compact, that nothing ever gets fully fleshed out. You don't really learn that much about either side, so when they end up going to war, you don't really feel anything about it. And it also means Pocahontas' and Smith's worldviews don't really get a chance to play off of each other and contrast, which could lead to some great character moments as well as tension. But with the film being so short, none of this happens beyond some cute moments within this rather basic and frankly unimpressive little love story that, again, due to the length, doesn't really get a chance to develop or grow that much, which is also mixed in with some additional elements, usually involving the comic relief in the form of Pocahontas' pets and Ratcliffe's dog. They are all enjoyably goofy, and the raccoon and the dog have some amusing back and forth like a Laurel and Hardy routine. No shock, given the film's co-director was Eric Goldberg, who has also worked with Looney Tunes before. However, these gags not only eat up more of the film's limited runtime, but they actually don't mesh well with the undeniably serious subject matter and ideas present in the film. It's not exactly a smooth transition going from, say, racial prejudice to the raccoon falling down a waterfall or stealing cherries from the dog. Most of Disney's animated films have two directors, and in this case, it really shows that split. I find it astonishing how a good dozen people are credited with story on top of the main three writers, and yet there are so many basic structural and tonal mistakes present in the film. Frankly, I can't understand how Disney thought this was going to be their next Beauty and the Beast, and cement them as the unquestionable king of animation. All I can assume here is, well, hubris and an overconfidence in their visual mastery was to blame here. In fact, the very reason they had so much faith in it then begs the question, why didn't they make it longer? After the wealth from Lion King's blitzkrieg at the global box office, could they not afford more cells and ink to expand the film and as a result add more layers to the story? You want an example of what they could have made had they gone that route? Princess Mononoke, an animated culture clash tale from the one and only Miyazaki. It's not only over 2 hours in length, but the story and characters are so much more layered as a byproduct of having more time. You spend time with both sides and see their pros and cons, allowing the audience to make up their own mind as to who to side with, the forest gods or the progressive industrial humans. It's mature, it's intelligent, and though it suffers a few pacing hiccups, it's a much more compelling film than this is, and it uses the same basic concept when you boil it down. Now, all of this ranting is not to say the film doesn't have positives. As I mentioned, it looks and sounds great, and even our two leads, though they aren't very well developed, are still likable enough, and their performances give them much needed charisma. However, the problems are just too glaring to be ignored. To close off, I must regrettably give Pocahontas a bronze star. It's a feast for the eyes and ears, but a series of almost amateurish blunders keep it from being the masterpiece it truly could have been. In this case, short and sweet was simply the wrong choice.